Hello everyone. This has been a very long mission in the making, and I am so excited. It finally worked. Everything has gone to plan. Over the past 2 weeks, I have finally made this mission possible. This is the 4th time I've tried an Eve crew mission, and this is the one that brought it home. So, as you can see, I am very excited because I encountered so many things along the way. I encountered a technical problem that made all the parts disappear once. I encountered a comet which was bad luck apparently because my game crashed right afterwards. And this video format has glitches in it. This is probably the last video I'm probably going to be using this editor because there are so many hiccups, especially in the Eve Ascent. It knows that people want to see that one specifically, so that's where you're going to give the hiccups. So, in the description, I hope that I remember to put a link to the video of the raw footage of the Eve Ascent. It's 10 minutes long, so that one's going to take forever to upload. And, well, I'm just going to be checking along with you guys on the footage over here, that which I'm probably about a second behind on. Yeah, so here's something. We are getting on our way to get ready to circularize. And this is probably about the most important stage of the mission, is just trying to get to Eve and landing in a good spot, because everything is determined over here of how you get to Eve and where you put the landing spot, because using the wrong amount of Delta V, getting in the wrong landing spot changes the whole mission. So this part was probably the hardest part, especially near the end. This one wasn't too hard. I've done many missions in orbit. And yeah, so Interstellar Comet came by. It's an I-class. I forgot what its name is. Probably you can see it later on if you have a good eye. But I wanted to try to get some cool photos of a Kerbal looking at a comet, because I've been seeing people all over the internet doing it. So I was like, why not I just do it? Because I don't know if you know, our next KSP mission is going to be heading to a comet with crew. I'm going to be doing something called a comet base, and I've seen people do it on the internet, but I want to make a huge base, like something that was as big as the 1.9 Duna base I did. And yeah, oh yeah, also very cool shot I did there with a Kerbal looking at a comet. Probably one of my most favorite shots I've done. Oh yeah, I'm not using the snipping tool anymore, meaning that I can have continuous footage. I'm going to be using screenshots now because snipping tool is starting to move away from Microsoft. So that's what I'm going to be using now. Probably same for Minecraft as well. Unless if I encounter something like the glitch that happened around here that caused my game to crash because comets equal bad luck. And yeah, there's my statement right there about it. So here's a cool time-lapse I have of the comet. It's pretty cool. I saw a comet last month, Comet Neowise. Too bad that's gone. I really wish we had more time with it, but yeah, I kind of got sparked into interest in comets, so that's why we're going to have Comet Camp in our next episode. I don't know if that will come out before Minecraft Adventures Episode 7. I was kind of promising that would come out next, but we'll see. I mean, let's see if we can see the name of the comet there. Nope, we didn't get to see it, or you could have, and you just were quick. So where I'm trying to aim is a polar orbit, because our target destination is about the tallest mountain on Eve, because even though my lander could probably, I haven't tested it, so don't credit me on this, it could probably get into orbit from 3,000 meters. Again, oh yeah, there's the comet name. Again, haven't tested it. I have a few doubts. It barely worked in this video, but that was because I had to ditch the nose cone at the beginning of flight. But yeah, we'll see. But the main reason why I chose the big mountain is because I was like, if we could get to the highest part of Eve as possible, that's a whole lot more wiggle room that I get to have with my rocket, so that if, say, I do a bad maneuver, I don't have to do the rocket all over again. So that's why I decided to try land on the mountain. And we got pretty darn close. I mean, after like 20 attempts, I got pretty dang close. I mean, I got on the slope of the mountain at a resting place, actually, thank goodness. Still enough to slip the lander, making me rush, but still good enough. And this is me entering low Eve orbit with my first ever crew to the Eve surface. This is probably the second time I've sent crew to Eve. I think I sent one for Gilly, like when I was doing Expedition Elu, that which I need to reboot because I had a bad habit of clipping parts back then. Because, you know, I thought it was okay, but I don't like the most of the Expedition Elu stuff. Like, I think I can only validate like one of the missions because that was the only mission that didn't clip, and that was Expedition Moho. That never clipped, and that one never even worked fully, unfortunately. But let's get to the landing process. This one took the longest time. This is probably the hardest part of the mission. Probably even harder than the... Oh, yeah, that was funny. Probably even harder than launching into orbit, actually. It is stinking hard to get into... onto the surface with an Eve lander. Like, it takes all this effort, and it is so hard to find out where you're actually going to land, and it is extremely hard. Like, there's some mods, but since 1.10.1 just came out, there's no mods that are going to be able to help me assist that, and yeah, unfortunately. So that's the main reason why I had to ditch nose cone right there. For some reason, the coupler did not come off with the... Oh yeah, and here's a hiccup with the editor that I still hate very much. But that's the main reason I had to get off the nose cone, because apparently the coupler did not want to come off with it. So that was a problem I did not foresee happening. Oh yeah, and quite a crazy collision. Nothing bad on the surface of things. I think it actually... No, it didn't destroy anything on the lander. But this was the second time trying to land on the surface. The first time I tried it was too steep, and this one just barely made it. Like, that was barely. So, you can see right there, there's a cool lander module that I put at the bottom. I wanted to make it so that the crew was comfortable, because it would spend like 4 days there, and we'd be slipping. Yeah. That's a oof on me. But don't worry, we were still able to do some parts of the mission. I was able to still collect science that I left in the lander can. Oops on me again. But no, this was actually a pretty cool mission. This was the kind of mission I was hoping to do when I was doing Expedition Elu, except I would have brought a rover, but at this point, I wasn't even doing the Expedition Elu stuff anymore, wasn't I? Yeah, I left the science in the lander can. That's the biggest mistake I did on this mission. Or that the coupler on the top, because I had to ditch the nose cone. Another editor hiccup. This is probably why I'm going to stop using pre-downloaded Windows software, and I'm actually going to finally purchase Adobe Premiere, since, yeah, I have no choice at this point. This is a Eve mission and people want to see continuous footage, and unfortunately I cannot give that with this editor because it just does these hiccups, and it's so frustrating. But can't do anything about it, unfortunately. Anyway, let's get back to the Eve mission. Wow. Yeah, that was going to debate as one of my thumbnails, but I decided that it should be Eve Ascent that I took a screenshot during a failed attempt at getting into Eve orbit, but it still looked very similar to what the actual ascent looked like. And unfortunately, you won't see that part because, again, annoying software. And I put down another flag just in case if one is got blown up by the separation of things. It's actually a pretty violent event, as you're about to see. But here's where you can get a kind of sense of where I got on the mountain. I got really close. This is the closest I actually got, and I was actually pretty satisfied with this spot. I was a little nervous that I wouldn't be able to get to it wouldn't be able to get into orbit from this height, but it did, just barely. But you know, I'm a very bad Eve pilot, so it could probably work if you were better at flying an Eve rocket. I mean, I had probably a whole lot better attempts at flying into orbit while testing, so this is a really horrible way to fly. Do not base your Eve mission off mine. This one was horrible. It barely made it. And if you want to get a good design, go to Matt Lown. He has been doing it for a while. My throat's getting tired. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about. These hiccups in the editor, and it's been frustrating. I didn't get any in the Cosmic Chaser mission, actually. That was a big surprise. But unedited, video on the website or in the description if I'm good at remembering stuff. And yeah, we're getting into orbit now. Now, this was probably the hardest part of Ascent, this point right here, because anything I do wrong here messes up the whole rest of the mission. And you see how much I had to throttle it down so that I don't burn up or flip over, because I did that a lot. And at this point right here, this is where most of my missions get lost, is because I didn't have enough to get into orbit. Now, this attempt right here was the only attempt so far that I was able to get into orbit with 1 meter per second of delta V to spare. And since we're right now in a hiccup, I can explain a little bit more about that. So, problem I had is that most people just say cut off at 90,000, but the problem I have with that is that is because when I get into 90,000, the thrust to weight ratio of that, what's the engine called? I forgot. Someone comment down below what it is, but it's really horrible thrust to weight ratio. I mean, it's like 2.11 right there, but that's not enough. Like, or it was just because the nav ball was telling me lies. It kept saying it would take 2 minutes, so I was like, oh, that's not going to be enough. But 2.11 is actually pretty good. Anyway, you can see that we got into orbit. This was about the 3rd attempt on this mission, so yay. And yeah, so a pretty wonky orbit of like 16,000 kilometers of difference from periapsis to apoapsis. But it works. I mean, we have a lot of delta V in the other spacecraft, which I call the guppy because it's fat, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, it's fat. So, guppy. Anyway, this is a time-lapse of the last orbit of rendezvousing. Rendezvousing took about like 20 days because I was doing a slow and steady maneuver, because at this point I was cooking the computer. So, yeah, so this is rendezvous. I forgot what it's called, but I found this from someone else, and it's called the lazy docking method, I think. I don't know, but you could probably find out by watching other KSP YouTuber videos. Anyway, Guppy is going to dock with unnamed Eve lander. And this was at the point where I was like, oh shoot, I forgot all the science, and I was like, oh, this is a sandbox mode, so it doesn't matter really anyway. Anyway, I'll take the one thing I got on EVA in low Eve orbit, so I guess I could take that to comfort my loss. Anyway, I finally learned how to use the jetpack. It took me about a year of KSPing to finally learn how to use a jetpack in KSP. That's actually pretty sad, but basically, you go, the WASD controls to go front, back, left, right, and I didn't know how you go up and down, but on my computer at least, it's the same way how you throttle up and down. You go shift or control. And yeah, so there's a whole lot of new skills I developed from the last time I attempted to do this mission now, which was last year? Yeah, last year. And from then, so about a year since the last time I attempted. So yeah, big difference from time between then. So yeah, getting ready to leave now, and the main thing I have to worry about here is making sure that I actually have a right Kerbal transfer, because even though we have 3,000 meters per second delta V, I have never returned from Kerbal in low polar Eve orbit. I've never done it before, so I don't know. Because when I was doing a Gilly mission, I was doing it in high Eve orbit because I was just coming off Gilly. So I had a really sucky transfer, so I had to use another 12,000 meters per second of delta V in interplanetary space because, again, I had a really bad transfer window. Even though what I was using for finding out what I need to use delta V wise said it was the perfect time to go, so I guess I might have done something wrong, or I suck at transfer windows. So yeah, goodbye Eve. You were very fun, and you are very annoying, and I haven't even done the ocean sea level challenge yet, which probably next year I could probably get to doing. because I just barely got off Eve from like 6,000 meters above sea level. I can't imagine doing a sea level Eve lander just yet, even though that's considered the final challenge. It's also why I'm stalling on the Jewel 5 mission that I've been thinking about doing all summer. Speaking of doing stuff all summer, I'm going to have to be slowing down uploads because now it's no longer summer and I'm getting back to doing busy stuff again. And unfortunately, that's how life works. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the summer parade of videos. It's going to slow down again, probably like a lot. I mean, it's online this year because of COVID, so I think I can do maybe a little bit more than I have done in previous years. So yeah, so now we're entering into, so this is the final part of the mission, and it's amazing, I believe, because this is probably the part where I say, oh my gosh, I finally did an Eve lander, and I find this to be the coolest part of the mission, where you get to reflect on everything you do while you were aerobraking into low Kerbal orbit, and then later, well, actually, we don't aerobrake into low Kerbal orbit. Usually, we aerobrake down to the surface, but unfortunately, when we tried doing that, we didn't get all the way down to the surface. We actually got into an elliptical orbit. This is weird because the inner planets, whenever I try to aerobrake back home, they never ever finish all the way, and it's some kind of weird thing that happens with the inner planets but never happens with the outer planets, because I can get aerobrake done in one orbit just fine with some kind of, like, let's say, deep space mission, and it's weird, but it doesn't make any sense in my opinion. Anyway, we're now done with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock. So what else can we talk about? So let's review what we've done so far today in this video. We were able to get to Eve, we were able to land an Eve lander, we were able to do some stuff on the surface before I left and got back into Eve orbit. And what else did we do? Well, we found out that Eve is purple, because I haven't done live commentary with Eve yet, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of anything else better. Anyway, let's get back to the mission. So, yeah, this is the last part, and this was probably the easiest part to film because actually everything was at like the amount of frames per second it's supposed to be, because usually my game lags at like 0.75 speed, because even though I have a kind of okay RAM, the KSP doesn't really handle it that well. Anyway, touchdown. So this is the last part of the mission. So this is where I take the Kerbal out. He gets a little breath of the air. I haven't taken off his helmet yet because he's going to analyze the capsule and see if everything is safe and nothing has leaked out. And then once he has, he can take off the helmet and finally take a piece of good old Kerbal air, that which should somewhat taste good. I don't know. It's Kerbal. It's like Earth. And this is where Jeb goes petting with his fake helmet, and then I put his helmet back on so that he can be happy again. So he's going to go back inside the crew capsule, and that's about it. After he gets into the crew capsule, and when he gets into the crew capsule, he's going to go upside down. So that's about it for this mission. Thank you very much. I'm going to have the remains of the very happy Eve lander mission that I did. And thank you very much for watching. I'm very glad that you guys have watched this very not well done video. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a great day.